Oh, I need to get myself psyched. What's his name? Cusco! All right, now I'm ready.
Is that going to be like the opening? I already had something prepared anyway. You probably won't want to use.
It's going to be the llama song, isn't it? I don't want to hear the llama song again.
Well, I can think of something else to do.
Cause we're recording for the Pizzeria Pod. Now balloons on the full-time squad. You know that we're recording for the Pizzeria Pod. And we no longer hide that we're on. Living in a Pizzeria the world. 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 Hello everybody and welcome back to Fifth Period, the film podcast hosted by two media teachers, where today's selection is my birthday gift to me and I am so happy. My name is Mr. Brown and with me as always is...
Mr. Boylan.
Now be honest with me, Mr. Boylan, on a scale of 1 to 10, how annoying was it that I was pretty much saying every line along with the film last Friday?
Maybe only like an 8 out of 10, because that was like how many lines you said without letting two breathe. It was like, that was the ratio?
I gave you a 20% ratio of lines without me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. No, it was very evident how much you were psyched. You were geared up to watch this film.
In my defense, you had screamed the llama song, much to my chagrin.
Well, you did say, like, if I beat you there to film club, it would happen. You're like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I did.
Well, I should clarify, folks, that he has recorded the entire first verse of the llama
and the chorus.
song. And the chorus. It won't make the final cut of the pod, but...
If you want the director's cut, the llama cut, hashtag release the llama cut.
Yeah, maybe I'll just insert that little clip of me being like, no, please, not the second verse.
And listen, little child, to the safety rail.
There you go.
That's the first verse.
Wow.
Do you want another one?
Nah, we'll leave it at that, I reckon. Oh dear, but no, I absolutely loved this one. So much so that I've gone back to my letterbox and put it in my top 25 films of all time.
The Emperor's New Groove.
Top 25 doesn't seem like a very small list, but when you love film as much as I do, picking a top 25 can be pretty tricky.
100%. I haven't been game enough to do it. That might be some of my media homework this week.
You know what I love though, just as much as I love film? I love it when people give a like on the videos.
I like a comment, and I like a subscribe.
Oh, I love them all.
All of them.
It is getting to that busy time of year, guys, so it does get a little tricky to do a weekly release. So anytime you can reaffirm that it's the right choice for us with a positive thumbs up, always helps us out. In addition to our main discussion of the Emperor's New Groove today, we will also be talking weekly watches and discussing an animal shapeshifter 5 favorites. So if you want to skip ahead to any of that, I will leave time codes in the description below.
Hi, my name is Evie.
Hi, my name is Amaya.
Hi, my name's Lily.
And today we're going to be talking about the Emperor's New Groove.
Big thank you to Evie, Amaya, and Lily for their triforce of an introduction today. They're still fairly new to Film Club. They came along for Raiders a couple weeks back, but I wasn't there. So I hadn't actually officially met the three of them until this week. They came along, said you'd teed it all up with them to come do a 3-person intro, and then they weren't even going to stay to watch the film. They just wanted to get in, get their 5 seconds of fame and glory, and then duck on out. But no, we had a good discussion about them sticking around to watch the film because it is such a good film.
It's a classic.
They ended up doing it. They said they enjoyed it, and it was really lovely to meet them. So obviously you've worked with them a lot more than I have.
Yeah, so Lily I taught last semester, and she really crushed it for her first experience in media. Showed a lot of enthusiasm and creativity for everything she did. Only thing matching her creativity was the amount of times I think that she was either on crutches or at a moon boot. Or injured of some descript. Very avid sports gal. plays a lot of footy and quite often was getting a few injuries as a result. It gets amongst it in footy and gets amongst it in media as well. So it was pretty cool to see the connection between Evie and Amaya, who I'm teaching at the moment, who have made an equally strong start to their time in media. So it was really cool to see them coming along to film club, and hopefully it's not the last we see them. Keep coming along, keep coming to film club. Even if you're not going to do an intro every week, it's fine.
That's the best part of film club, getting to meet students that you don't otherwise get to. So yeah, it was really, really nice to meet them, and I hope they do keep on coming back. So thanks, guys. All right, let's jump into The Emperor's New Groove. So we actually kick things off with a framing device. We've talked about it a few different times on the pod. I went into a little bit more detail about it in The Princess Bride. It's the idea of having the film take place inside another narrative. So in The Princess Bride, they're telling the story of the Princess Bride. In this one, it's starting sort of 2/3 into the plot, and then he goes back to where it all began.
Hey, that's me. You're probably wondering where I got here.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a pretty common thing in films. I'm not usually a big fan of it, but I think it is a stroke of genius when you've got a main character that is very witty. Another really good example of this is Deadpool, because then you are giving them an excuse to narrate the entire film. So they can basically just riff as they are talking about the events that have unfolded. And I think David Spade is amazing when it comes to improv, and he is just so funny. Like everything he says in this movie, I find hilarious. And so he really does carry the film with that narration over the top as well.
How sharp his dialogue is like right throughout, and how exaggerated that opening shot is, obviously, of Cusco in llama form. I didn't deserve any of this. And
very dramatic with the music and the lightning and thunder.
It's different for a Disney movie as well. I'll probably talk about this a little bit sort of around production of this film and how it came to be, and probably came in along at a very interesting time for Disney, because this is when really things start to wind down for them a little bit as a studio, and when the likes of Pixar and DreamWorks are very much starting to take over that animated space. And interestingly, this is the last animated film to sort of come out before they started introducing Academy Awards for animated features. And obviously the first one was won by old Shrekky. So almost like this period of time can sometimes be a little bit underrated.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right, like in terms of the behind the scenes details and production stuff, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that as we go through. But we meet Emperor Cusco, as you said, in llama form, and he takes us back to where it all started. But two things are kind of established in this opening sequence. We get the meta jokes. He's like, I'll take you right back. And then it goes back too far to when he was a baby. Oh, that's me as a baby. Look at me. But we also get this sense of self-importance in this as well. We can see that he's painting himself as a victim in this scenario.
I was the world's nicest guy, and they ruined my life for no reason.
Like, I see.
There are reasons. There are definitely going to be reasons. Also enjoy after he sort of cuts from him as a baby when he's doing his hair, and the comb is a llama.
Yes, very, very good. There's lots of llama imagery throughout this as well. But we meet the self-absorbed pre-llama Emperor Cusco getting ready for his day of emperoring.
And how best to get ready for the day than with an opening song about yourself?
Yeah.
'Cause this perfect world begins and ends with me.
About who, sorry?
Cusco!
There it is. It's a catchy song. I'd be shimmying and Irish dancing my way to it. That is the best part, though, when it takes the break in the middle, because he bumps into an old man and
No! You threw off my groove.
ends up throwing the guy out the window.
Beware the groove.
But then when the music kicks back in after that, and all the guards are Irish dancing, it's very good.
Obviously, it's performed by Tom Jones, Sir Tom Jones. And
Sir Tom Jones.
Written by Sting, and they wanted to get him to sing the opener, but he didn't want to do it, saying they should get someone hip and younger. So they got Tom Jones.
Oh, he's so hip.
Yep, and he's 11 years older than Sting. Which is pretty funny. Because Sting, he was much more heavily involved in the original idea for this movie, which was going to be more of a musical epic.
Well, when you think about it, all of the films leading up to it, you got Mulan, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Lion King, Aladdin, Anastasia, Pocahontas, Beauty and the Beast, Tarzan. They're all very musical heavy. And this one, for a film that's called The Emperor's New Groove, it's weird that there's only this one song, unless you include the Happy Birthday song later on.
Yes, or song
credit
as well,
song,
which
yeah.
Sting did write and perform. Roger Allers was originally tied to it, and he did The Lion King. It was going to be called Kingdom of the Sun. Owen Wilson was going to be playing Parcher instead of John Goodman.
Wow.
Which would have been an interesting dynamic between two very similar voices
Yeah.
as well, like in terms of, I guess, like tone. Yeah, just the lead up to this film was really interesting and very chaotic, and they actually released like a documentary called The Sweatbox, which Disney have refused to release, basically. Because it does not...
But you can find it pretty easily.
comfortably. I started watching it last night as well, and it was cool to see like some of the things that Sting was working on in terms of the different songs.
Yeah, so I heard he wrote 8
Yeah.
songs. Because of the drastic changes in the storyline, none of them really fit anymore.
No, so speaking to like lots of people around the movie, not me, the guys who are working on the movie.
I thought you were going out and doing your own research, just stopping people in the street.
I mean, I do have a background in journalism, so that's all right. It's an easy thing to touch back with. But it was interesting to see that clearly the original plot for this film, which was trying to block out the sun, and there was like a princess involved that was going to be
like
played by
a full
Carla
epic.
Gugino. Yeah. They kind of explained it to people as like, I don't know what it's about. So they clearly had to go back to the drawing board. Disney weren't really happy with how it was all going, and it got rewrote and everything. So yeah, a very different film.
I think a big focus of the rewrites and the whole overhaul in general was trying to make it lighter and funnier.
Yeah.
That was something that they obviously achieved a lot of success from films like Aladdin with your genie character, Mulan, and you got Eddie Murphy as Mushu. They liked the idea of these witty characters and getting comedians in to basically just riff, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that having that sort of on one side and then the other kind of part of Disney's formula, sort of particularly leading up to this film, was tapping like a very successful musician to do the music. And obviously with Elton John for The Lion King, Phil Collins for Tarzan, and then getting Sting, who was pretty fresh off breaking off with the Police and starting his own pretty massive solo career. It was a good move. But yeah, obviously just the original plans of the film just are not what we eventually saw.
I'm glad they're not, because I love this film so much, but I would almost love to see the other version of it just as 2 separate films.
Definitely.
I think that'd be really cool. I mean, I would love to see more with these characters as well. Maybe at the end we'll talk a little bit about Kronk's New Groove.
The extended universe.
Yeah. I found it really interesting because I was obviously doing a bit of research into this myself, and a finished script of the film was submitted to the studio 2 weeks after the film had been in cinemas.
That's crazy.
It's so funny.
Like, hey, we're done. Oh, wait, it's there.
Yeah, well, basically someone came and spoke to, I don't know if it was Mark Dindal that they spoke to, the director, or whether it was just one of the writers, and basically said, oh, we just need to get it for our records. And he was like, we don't really have one. And so he got all of the people that have been working on the film to just kind of compile the bits of paper together that they had and gave them something. But as you can tell when you're watching the film, there must have just been so much improv with the characters. The way that they play off each other is just so natural. There's a huge source of comedy in the awkward moments between them as well. And you can tell that they're just trialing things and having fun.
It does feel very different for a Disney movie, I think, in terms of the pacing of it and just how comedy is a much more... It's just more full frontal, I think, in this film. Much more of, I think, like a comedy film, and obviously a musical second, considering there's not many tracks in there.
So they go hard in the opening scenes to show us just how horrible a person Kuzco is. So first of all, obviously, he's throwing the old guy out the window. Do you know who voices the old guy?
No.
So it's John Fiedler, who I heard his voice and I was like, why do I know that voice? It sounds so familiar. It's Piglet from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a very distinct voice.
His groove, the rhythm in which he lives his life, his pattern of behavior, I threw it off, and the Emperor had me thrown out the window.
After that sequence, he also meets potential brides that he's going to marry, and he goes down the line insulting each of them.
Hate your hair. Not likely. Yikes, yikes, yikes. And let me guess, you have a great personality.
And the funniest part is they're all the same design, same character design.
Yeah.
They just have slightly different hair. He's not even the villain of the film.
No, it's going to make someone even worse.
Even worse, yeah.
And that's where we meet Yzma, who's played by Eartha Kitt. Just phenomenal.
Incredible. She is this character.
Yeah.
And they did actually design Yzma to mirror a lot of her physical attributes as well, but they also based a lot of her character poses on modeling poses. So they looked through like fashion magazines. You often see her like lounging on like a Chase lounge. And yeah, they have to make her ridiculously over the top evil so that she surpasses Kuzco.
Yep.
And what better way to do that than telling off a peasant for being a peasant just because he's asking for food.
Sorry, what was it again? Food?
Food. Well, you should have thought of that before you became peasants.
Yeah. We not only meet Yzma, but we meet probably the best part of the film and one of the best Disney characters of all time. So much so that he got his own sequel, and it's Kronk, this year's model.
Yes, played by Patrick Warburton.
And yeah, just incredible.
Not our first mention of Kronk on the pod. We often say, got that big Warbs energy.
Big Warbs energy.
We say it because we're referring to the sequel, Kronk's New Groove. Anytime we discuss on the podcast when there is like a spin-off sequel to a film where a secondary character has stepped into the leading role,
yes,
we refer to it as Big Warbs energy.
Because it's a bit too much sometimes.
It is.
Just like, and we get the perfect amount of Kronk in this movie.
Another really good example of it is the film Get Him to the Greek. I think Aldous Snow is one of the funniest parts of the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life.
But I find him tiresome in Get Him to the Greek because it's too much. And I actually started watching Kronk's New Groove again, just the intro of it last night, and all the same things that I had remembered feeling about it were abundantly clear as soon as I pressed play on it.
Okay. I've never seen it, so
I'll
have to get around to it.
Look, it's not a horrible watch, but you find yourself really missing David Spade's character. He's
to bounce
in it,
off a bit, yeah.
But he doesn't, it's not like they put Kronk in the David Spade role in terms of the amount of time on screen and David Spade in the Kronk role. David Spade would have come in for a day and done a couple of lines here or there, and then they just periodically slot him into the movie so that you feel like he's still involved, but he's
still in the same universe.
Very tangibly.
Right, there you go. Kronk's, just doing some crazy stuff. He's trying to get rid of a fly or a mosquito and ends up, donging himself in the face, which is great.
It's pretty good. He's got little dog treats.
Yep. The way that, Yzma finds out that Kuzco's there is great.
The nerve of some people.
Tell me about it. Oh, wait. Hang on. Kuzco's here. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, so basically Yzma's been running the country behind his back.
Yeah, she's got some bigger aspirations.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be the Emperor's advisor.
But he's not having it, so he fires her and he lists off every different way that you can.
You're being let go, your department's being downsized, you're part of an outplacement. We're going in a different direction, we're not picking up your option, take your pick. I got more.
Literally gives her a pink slip as well.
Oh, it's so good. But one of my favorite moments, as she's pleading her case, Kuzco tunes out and starts noticing flaws in her appearance.
What is keeping this woman?
Look at those wrinkles. What is holding this woman together? What the? How long has that been there?
Just like this
spinach in the teeth?
From Kronk's Spinach Puffs. Where else would they be from?
How do you even think to write stuff like this in? It's so funny just to have him tune out as she's talking.
And it shows very much about how much Kuzco cares about others and what they're saying.
And speaking of people that Kuzco might eventually care about, Pacha enters the scene.
Pacha.
He's summoned from the village to offer advice about where he gets the best sun so that Kuzco can pretty much just demolish the houses and build Kuzco-topia.
Yeah, and he's already nervous about meeting with him because he bumps into the person who's been thrown out on the way in. Beware the groove. He's like, okay. But he goes in there and thinks he's being able to share information about his village. He's obviously proud of the fact.
Very proud of the village,
The fact that they provide everything for the palace. And it's like, okay, cool. No, bad luck. Pacha's asking, he's like, well, where are we going to live? And he's like,
don't know, don't care.
Better get some change of address forms on the way home.
This scene has such great moments in it. First of all, I love the models. His big Kuzco-topia that has the little flag. But also how Pacha keeps picking up the little house and he just keeps knocking it out of his hand.
Yep.
The part I really like about this moment is there's a part where he turns really vicious as well. When Pacha's
you can't do
upset,
this. And the whole idea of saying, suggesting that
the Emperor can't do something.
Yeah. Yeah. The guards sort of cross in front of him and Kuzco, you can really tell the tonal shift.
It's dark. It's really dark. Your little town thing is going to be bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And then immediately goes back to his little baby voice.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pacha is devastated by it, but, he can't really do anything about it.
Not yet, anyway.
He's not the only one that's devastated.
No, Yzma's laying off some steam and hammering away at stone busts of Kuzco's heads, a little to the left, Kronk.
So they hatch a plan to get rid of Kuzco. The real Kuzco.
Yeah. And, what's the original plan? It's first First, I'm going to turn him into a flea. Then I'm going to put it inside of one box, and then inside another box. Then I'm going to mail that box to myself. When the box arrives, I'm going to smash it with a hammer.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Genius, I say. Or to save on postage, I'll just poison him with this.
Exactly.
And I really like this. It happens quite a few times. In fact, it happens 2 times in a row here, where they mock how villainy is presented in films.
Yep.
And so these really big, elaborate plans, and then just being like, wait, why would we do that when we could just do this
Just
instead?
kill him, yeah.
And then they immediately follow it up with the secret lab that has these complex levers and traps. And then when she falls down to the crocodile, it's like, why do we even have that lever? It's such a good meta commentary in this film that is already packed full of meta commentary about each of the individual story aspects.
Yeah, it sets it up really well, and I always like when Disney's getting a little bit, self-referential. I think that's a good thing for them. I also like in this bit when they look going through the poisons and they're like lions, tigers, and bears, and then so like good little Wizard of Oz reference, kind of basically set things up, and it's dinner time.
It is dinner time.
And
feel
Kronk
the power, Kronk. Oh, I can feel it.
But he mainly feels the power when he's in the kitchen.
He does.
He really loves. That's
loves
Kronk's
cooking.
love language. Is just cooking food for others.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about another time when he starts cooking in the film, which I think is one of the best parts of the movie.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, so basically they invite Cusco over for dinner, and then they poison his drink. And the awkwardness at this dinner scene is so good. So no hard feelings about being let go. None whatsoever. And then like Kronk leaves the room, and they make like awkward chit chat back and forth.
The way that he's with us is like everything going to plan. It's like, yeah, we're going to start, nice and light with the salad. It's like, no, not the dinner. He's just so focused on cooking a meal. It's like, oh yeah, the poison for Cusco, the poison designed specifically to kill Cusco.
That poison? Yes, that poison.
Okay.
Because he's so focused on dinner, and when something's burning, my spinach puffs. He ends up mixing up the poisons and getting the drinks all confused. And like this farcical nature is littered throughout the entire film. We see it especially later on when they're in the the rest stop cafe. But here it's so good because he ends up having to mix all of the drinks together, and then they have to like pretend they're drinking it.
Yeah, Ismail just chucks hers to the side, and then Kronk looks like he's drinking his, but he's just letting it pour on himself, which technically should that not like turn part of him? I don't know if it's not ingested. I don't know.
Oh yeah, because later on just jumping on a vial will turn you.
Yeah, or when they throw an original vial at like a plant and actually turns the stalk of that plant into what looks like a llama neck. So which is really good.
Look, by all accounts, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh well, that's exactly. It doesn't kill him.
No, because the drinks weren't the only thing he mixed up. He mixed up the poisons.
He did.
Got himself some extract of llama. In my defense, all your poisons look the same. You might want to think about relabeling some.
I mean, that's fair. They're all pink liquid, basically. Yeah. So Cusco just wakes up out of the bowl, trying to work out with them. And then he's like, more broccoli?
So good. Cusco continues his conversation.
Yeah, it's like he has no idea.
Yeah, okay. Where was I?
What were we talking about? Yeah.
They knock him out, and Kronk has to go get rid of the body. But he's a little disappointed that they can't at least have dessert and coffee first. So they agree to that.
No dinner, but coffee and dessert.
All right, a quick cup of coffee. Then take him out of town and finish the job.
And he's initially really into it, doing his own theme music.
Did you hear a funny thing about this?
No, please.
So, Warbs, he improvised when Kronk was humming his own theme song when he's carrying Cusco. Disney's legal department had Warbin sign all rights to the humming composition over to them. That's such a Disney thing to do.
Oh, so
you know that
good.
little thing that you like hum just like for like that one take?
We want that.
We'll
That's
have that.
ours. I love when he's up against the wall though and he's like oh dear. Then he starts to be a little bit haunted by guilt. Both an angel and a devil appear on his shoulders. And again, like it's so bizarre, but it works really, really well because they're very childish, talking about why he should listen to one of them instead of the other one. And my absolute favorite is when the devil goes, first of all, look what I can do. And then does like a headstand. And he's like, I don't see what that No, he's got a point. It's like even the angel thinks that's a really good argument that he's making there.
Insulting the harp as well.
That's a harp. And that's a dress. Robe.
Like a lot of things that Kronk does, he's not super successful in disposing of Cusco. He drops the bundle and it ends up on the back of who else's card but Parcher's.
Old Parcher. Hope that doesn't come back to haunt me.
It will.
So Parcher gets home and we meet his family. So we got his 2 kids and his pregnant wife, Chicha.
The
played
first
by...
pregnant wife on Disney history.
There you go.
It's like one of the first animated Disney adult human women who is not played like villainously.
But it's also a very smart play to have her pregnant here because this whole scene is about making these characters lovable so that you empathize with the fact that they're about to be kicked out of their home. So it's like baby on the way, 2 great kids that love their family, and Wendy Malick being cast in this role. So good. So a bit of a reunion for her and David Spade. They were in Just Shoot Me together.
Oh, cool. Yep.
And I love her in this role. She's this really like strong, powerful character. Parcher doesn't initially want to admit what's going on, so he says the Emperor wouldn't see him, and she gets all like flustered and like, oh, let me at him kind of vibe. The kids too, they're so infectious. Like they're really excited to tell their dad about the day. Look how much I've grown. Look, I've got a loose tooth. They do a really, really good job of making them a very lovable family in a very short space of time.
Definitely. Increasing the stakes for Parcher and then driving home how much of a D-bag Cusco is. Our 2 leads are going to meet now. So when Parcher's unloading these bags, he finds Cusco.
He does find Cusco. It happens really quickly, this whole point, because like he's a little bit sad. He's sitting by the cart. But they don't let you sit in the sadness for too long because David Spade narrates over the top. And he's like, I'm the victim.
The movie's about me, not him. Initially, Cusco doesn't even realize that he is, in fact, a llama. And when he does, he's terrified.
Demon llama? Where? I loved this sequence so much that back during lockdown, when I was creating like tutorials for my year 12s.
You became a llama.
I didn't become a llama. I didn't have the commitment. I was trying to show them how to talk to inanimate objects. So obviously making their year 12 films in lockdown, they had limited access to other actors and ended up writing scripts where the characters would talk to inanimate objects as a way to play off them. And so using my little Cusco pop figurine, I animated his mouth talking and then put in lines of dialogue from the film. And I chose this because I really wanted the realization moment where he goes, and then you got mad and, oh! And he like screams out, even though it's an audio podcast. I'll put that small clip.
You gotta do it.
So you can see the little flapping mouth of the pop figurine.
And then you got mad at me. Oh! Can you turn me into a llama?
Very cool. Very cool.
It was good fun. But yeah, it's such a good scene. The surprise, the shock, and then again, just so self-involved that he can't put together the fact that it's probably Yzma that's done it. He's like, oh, I'll go back to the castle. Yzma will fix it all up. She's not going to be mad at me because I fired her. She has a secret lab, but she didn't do this to me.
It's probably her.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. It would have been her.
Checks out, yeah.
But because he loves himself, he can't imagine anyone else not loving him.
No, exactly right. And then he thinks that, okay, cool, I'm just going to get myself back to the castle. And Parcher's trying to help him and guide him and saying, like maybe if they can strike a deal. Cusco's like,
screw your deal.
No, fuck that. And then ends up falling into a pit of jaguars.
Fan theory here. Right before the jaguars, you know when he sees the fly stuck in the web and then the spider eats it and he goes, okay, that was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. So, all the animals in this universe don't talk. The only animals we see talking are people that have become animals.
Mm-hmm.
So the theory is that the fly was a person that then got eaten up by the spider.
Jeez.
Because it's the only animal we see with a voice.
Someone else that maybe Yzma's got rid of or something. I don't
the
know.
old emperor.
Maybe. And we've just seen his demise. That's an interesting fan theory.
Yeah,
I didn't think we'd get so far down a rabbit hole of Emperor's New Groove in terms of like pre-production and fan theories, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
That's what we do.
So yeah, back to the old Jaguars.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah.
So because he has run into a squirrel.
What's the squirrel's name again?
Bucky.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he says hit the road, Bucky, and then as a result, on IMDb, the squirrel is listed as Bucky.
Okay.
But because he was rude to the squirrel's like, I'm going to wake up these jaguars
with a balloon.
And he like holds it. It doesn't matter. Suspend disbelief.
If they're going to poke holes at a few different things, poke holes at this too.
No, well, they call themselves out later on. By all accounts, it doesn't make any sense. We'll just keep saying that anytime the plotline doesn't make sense. What a quality gag for the squirrel to pop the balloon, make a loud bang, but none of the jaguars wake up. And then Cusco just goes, ha! And then wakes them all up.
And then it's like, immediately covers his mouth and is like, all right, the chase is on. And
How good does the animation look?
Was
The
it?
whole forest turns red.
it
Like,
was really good.
really
It was
sick.
real good. Don't know what's going to happen. So basically, it looks like he's going to get chomped, and who's going to come in there yelling like Tarzan? But
yeah.
Pacha.
What's this, like 2 years after Tarzan came out?
Yep.
Yeah. A bit of shameless self-promotion.
Exactly. Hey, go see that other film if you don't like this one. Or if you did like this one, go watch Tarzan.
Nah, I like this one. I don't really like Tarzan that much.
Oh, okay.
Nothing to do with Phil Collins. I love me some Phil Collins.
I really like Tarzan. So. Good thing we're not rival ranking
Woo!
90s
It would
and
get
2000s Disney movies. I think
would
it
get
definitely
hated.
would.
Good physical comedy here. So
Swings right past him.
so good. And then when he finally does get him, they end up getting completely wrapped around and tied to a tree trunk, which then breaks off and falls in the river below.
Oh, and this is the good stuff.
This is the good stuff. So first of all, Cusco goes, I don't know about you, but I'm getting all funned out. Like, I love this sarcasm here. He's just like, what a day I've had. He's just
I'm
over it.
Yeah.
But this was where we were going to stop it in film club. And, you
And I was like, oh, do you reckon we'll call it here, Mr. Brown? And you're like, no. Wait. Here we go.
Wait. I literally said, we have to get to the part where he goes, booyah!
The whole lead up to this is just great. We're heading to like a big waterfall.
Sharp rocks at the bottom? Most likely.
Bring it on. It's so good. And yeah, so that happens, and they don't die.
No, they survive, but only because Pacha gives Cusco a little bit of mouth to mouth.
For the last time, it was not a kiss.
Well, whatever it was disgusting. But this is another really good scene to show the parallels between Pacha and Cusco. You got Pacha, who is making a fire for them both, doing something helpful, whilst David Spade is bitching and moaning, using Pacha's poncho to dry himself off. He puts out the fire like 3 or 4 times in a row.
And then he tries to go to sleep, and he's really cold, and Pacha basically takes his own blanket, covers Cusco, and I love like Cusco's sort of like little sort of acknowledgements, like the idea of someone helping him, even though like he's basically said he's not going to help Pacha, someone's just doing something for him, not out of obligation.
Out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool. Essentially, they're trying to work out a bit of a deal, but then Cusco is like, nah, when they start to go over the bridge. And
Yeah, well, it kind of keeps going back and forth. So it's like argument, then patch up, then argument, then patch up. I think my favorite part...
Patch up or patcha?
Patch up. But I think my favorite parts of the arguments are when you can clearly see that he's giving him like really good advice, and then David Spade's just like, thanks for that, I'll log that away. Like the sarcasm.
It's like, yeah, cool story, bro, basically every time.
He's just so childish. He throws the rock at him. What's going on?
Where'd that come from?
Someone's throwing stuff. So they're crossing the bridge together the next day, and Cusco has led Pacha to believe that, all right, he'll build his summer home somewhere else. But then old Pacha falls through the bridge.
Yeah.
Help me. No, I don't think I will.
And steps over him, but then continues to sort of like insult him, and then eventually he falls down too.
Yeah.
So all of it was a lie?
Well, yeah. No, wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it all was a lie.
We shook hands on it!
The thing about shaking hands, you need hands.
You got him there.
You did get him. You got him good.
But yeah, then they start like basically swinging towards each other and just
It's like Circus Olay.
just duking it out. Looks like, from The Greatest Showman. They just Zendaya and Zac Efron
That behind the
crashing into
scene
each other.
detail. Oh, so good.
That's where they got it from. They saw Empress New Groove and was like, that. Let's do that in live action.
It's pretty funny. This whole sequence is great. You get that classic cartoon, the bridge breaks, but it takes them a second before gravity catches up with them and they fall down.
Yeah.
They get like wedged between the two ravine edges.
And they got, crocodiles at the bottom, and they're like, all right, we've got to basically work our way out of this, which comes back later in the movie.
Yeah, we'll go right foot first. Who's right? You're right or my right? My right. Well, why does it have to be yours?
So good.
The thing about this scene that's so funny is it doesn't make any sense. Like, you get the scorpions, then you get the bats, and then somehow they just end up on top. But it works because they're both like well, that didn't make sense either. And they just look at each other and kind of laugh.
Yeah, and then Cusco's like,
Yeah, well, he snatches him right out of the air. The first selfless thing Cusco's ever done.
Exactly. And then we're cutting back to what's going on in the middle of Yzma's takeover. She finds out that Cusco ain't dead.
He's not as dead as we would have hoped.
And how dead is that? I was like,
He's still alive?
yeah.
I love that. It's like, he can't come back. Yeah, that would be awkward, especially after that lovely eulogy.
Oh, too good.
So they go on the hunt. They go from village to village. And
I love
it's
it.
just a throne mounted as a backpack onto Kronk's back.
This
So
has been
good.
a show for her, and then like she jumps out and she's like, these are my best shoes.
And he's like bird watching or like playing bird bingo.
And he's like recording stuff.
in the background, the beehive around it. Oh, it's so funny.
And it's really, really good. And then Kronk talks to Bucky, and then it works out that he's come across Cusco and they're sort of in pursuit. One bit I also like how the fact that Cusco's got low blood sugar, because Dave Spade is a diabetic in real life, which is
right.
Which was like, oh, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a curse.
And then we get to the truck stop, the rest stop, the restaurant, and
Yeah, you know what I found out?
yeah.
Apparently, these were actually a common thing in like the Incan Empire roads.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because the treks would go on for days.
You need a
so
pit stop.
You did actually need a place to stop. And the filmmakers, even though it was based in logic, made the assumption that people would watch it and be like, it's a funny gag about like truck stops. But it is a genuine thing. They stop in there. Cusco has to wear drag because no llamas, specifically no llamas allowed.
Any other animal? Fine. Just no llamas.
Who should also turn up there, but old Yzma and Kronk.
Yes.
And this is what I was saying before about, like, this is probably the most farcical because they keep going into the kitchen and it's a swivel door and they're, like, just missing each other, or they lift a menu up as the other one puts a menu down.
So good. So good, this whole section.
And we know Kronk loves cooking.
He really does. The fact that like he ends up back there, the chef or whoever's basically working the front is trying to like communicate orders out to people.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to stay on track, repeats everything back basically. And then he just starts cooking and he's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but the shortened
Sorry, I'm busy
version
right now.
is brilliant. Like, if you actually break down some of the things they're saying, like, at one point someone wants a steak cut to look like a fish, and he refers to that as change the bull to a gill.
Bull to gill, yeah, that's really good.
Just so good. Pacha also overhears Yzma was the one that tried to kill Cusco at this point.
And they're still trying to kill him.
Yeah, and so he has to get him out of there. And what's the best way to do that? Say that it's her birthday, so they come sing, happy, happy birthday from all of us to you. Was it Sting that wrote that song as well? One of his better ones, I believe.
I believe it was...
Mahatma Dandy that wrote that.
Mahatma Sting Dandy. They took a big look at the list of original songs. It was like, you know what? That happy birthday tune, Sting, you've outdone yourself
You
here.
have. It's perfection.
It's much better than The Circle of Life or any from Tarzan.
Yeah. But Kronk comes out, and I love this. He's like, it's your birthday?
He's fully invested. He's almost like he's gone through, like, this is the career that he's always wanted. But then we sort of see that after they've left, Cusco overhears that nobody seems to care that he's gone.
Yeah, well, first of all, Pacha tells him, these are the people that tried to kill you. And he's like, no, you're just trying to sabotage me so that I stay stranded out here and I don't knock down your village.
Yeah.
But immediately afterwards finds out they are trying to kill him and that no one really respects him. And we get all the way back to the start of the film where he's a sad llama sitting in the rain.
Yep.
But like I said, they don't sit in the sadness for very long because in the next scene, he immediately runs into Pacha again.
It happens very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not much of trying to work out, I'm doing some real soul searching here.
Yeah. 78-minute film, mate. We gotta speed through it.
We do love a quick little run time.
We love a tight 90. A 78-minute. Hello.
Couple of weeks in a row. Jeez.
Yeah, it's good. Keep it up, people. Keep it
That
up.
is good. Yzma with cucumbers in her eyes as well when she wakes up in the tent.
Kronk's like, oh! Yeah. Now, tell me this. This whole wake-up scene. So, first of all, I love Kronk's teeny tiny little tent over his knees. And he's got a teddy bear with the same hat as him.
And he keeps like sort of waking up and like going back to sleep.
The peasant from the diner.
Yeah.
He didn't pay his check.
Backslip.
But he realizes that Pacha, the peasant from the diner, is the one that he accidentally dropped the llama on the cart of. How does that help him? He immediately then goes, oh, okay, well, I know exactly where this guy's village is. How does he know that? They already knew they were looking for a villager. They've been going from village to village.
Just not the right
Now
village.
immediately he knows exactly where Pacha's house is.
So good. Kronk's deduction is underrated, clearly.
It's incredible.
They sort of patch things up again, Cusco and Pacha, like really quickly.
And Pacha?
Pacha.
Hey, Pacha.
Hey, Pacha. And it's all fine again, and then they talk to some characters who are like, oh, we see your relatives. They go look for you. It's like, what relatives? How would you describe her? Scary beyond all reason? Yep, that's her.
It is good. And this is a good sequence too because, again, it reminds you how endearing the family is. Mm-hmm. You got them playing jump rope. 99 monkeys jumping on a bed.
It's like, where's Kronk?
One fell off and bumped his head. You got the little kid being like, are you sure you're my great aunt? You look more like my great. Are you finished? Great aunt.
So good. Savages, those kids.
They are.
They're brutal.
Savage. Pacha manages to get his wife's attention and explain the whole sitch, not before she smacks Cusco in the face with a frying pan. You very lovely wife. So she decides to distract Yzma long enough for them to get a good head start. And so they lock her in the cupboard and she tries to get Kronk to break it down. And he's like, break the door down? What are you kidding me? This door's made out of hand-carved mahogany.
And, well, eventually they don't have to break the door down because then it's like, okay, kids, you know what to do. And it's like, this is something they do all the time. It's like the classic,
old wheelbarrow
down the hill into honey.
Into a pillowcase. And then she's a piñata.
Yeah, the classic process that they've done so many times.
The best part of all of it is that the kids keep appearing at different points on the hill.
They're quick. It's crazy.
Yeah, even though Yzma's having a lousy time, Kronk's had a blast. He's like, let's not wait till the next family reunion. It's probably one of the lines I say the most.
Just in general, day-to-day life?
Anytime I'm hanging out with people and then we get to the end of it, you say, let's not wait till the next family reunion.
Good.
So the race is on. The race back to the palace.
Yes.
The meta map lines. You can actually see it as they're running behind them.
That's good.
I do enjoy that. Bit of an indie callback.
Yeah, a little bit of Raiders-esque.
And so they got to jump a big gorge, and Pacha and Cusco make it over, no walkers. But old Yzma and Kronk get struck by lightning, fall down the gorge.
Ouch.
That's the end of them.
Yep, done. Movie, over. Not really. We're not quite there yet. The way that they end up getting into, it's just like, they describe it as almost like a literal plot hole.
Yeah, this is the one I keep quoting as it goes through. You got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make any sense.
It's like, how are they there?
So they do end up beating him back to the castle, but not before Cusco accidentally pulls the wrong lever.
Okay, why does she even have that lever?
Good callback. Yzma tries to get Kronk to kill them, but he has another...
crisis of confidence?
Yes, and has to talk to his angel and demon. And she gets a little bit fed up and starts just laying into him.
And even then, they're both basically, the angel and the demon turn on Yzma. I forget what's the...
She insults his spinach puffs.
Yeah, that's like the last straw. Say anything about me, but go after a man's spinach puffs and you've crossed a line.
So he turns on her. Yep. And he chops down the old chandelier. It builds it up as if like something horrific has happened.
To defeat her.
Splattered. It cuts to Cusco and he looks horrified and it's just missed her entirely.
Yeah, it's like, oh, usually that works.
And then she pulls a lever too and he ends up falling down a trapdoor.
Yep, unfortunately. One of the other bits of this scene is really good, is when Yzma like goes to like pull something under her dress and they're like, and then when it's just a knife, it's like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they just didn't want to see her upper thigh.
Pretty much.
Oh dear, so now that she no longer has Kronk, she gets the guards to turn on Pacha and Cusco, claiming that they are the ones that killed the Emperor. And we get a fun chase here because there's all these potions that, again, because they're not labeled properly, they get mixed up. And so they're running, Cusco keeps changing the animal, but the guards all turn into animals as well.
The one that...
The one requests to leave. I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home? You can be excused. Anyone else?
And you're like, no, we're pretty good.
Yeah, we're good. Let's go. Oh dear. So yeah, it's a good chase. He turns into like a whale, a parrot. And
looking like Iago from Aladdin.
Yes. And then turns back into a llama and he's like, yay, I'm a llama again. Wait.
I don't want this. This whole reason I came back here.
Another really good gag here. Cusco and Pacha have fallen out the front of the monument. They're on a big ledge out the front of the palace.
Clear the canals and hang on for dear life.
Yeah, and the guards are all like, after the men, like it's a really triumphant, brave thing. Let's go get them. And then they all just fall out to their death.
That's great.
So yeah, they're at the front of the palace, and since they're gone and they're dangerously high up, it's all up to Yzma to take care of the others. And they're down to 2 potions. One is human and one is some monster. We don't know. But Yzma accidentally pounces on it, and as a result...
Nice choice of words.
Thanks. As a result, she turns into this really threatening-looking monster, and then it zooms out, and it's a little kitty cat.
It's a little cat who has a very funny voice.
Is that my voice? Oh, well.
But then she's basically, well, even in cat form, still deadly enough to basically send them to all their doom.
Meow, am I right?
True. Oh dear. You've broken me.
Sorry, mate. I feel like we're going a mile a minute. This plot moves, doesn't it?
It really does. Basically, Yzma's then got the last vial, and then the struggle sort of ensues between Pacha, who then goes flying to his doom. But then Cusco's trying to get the vial back, and you can see that there's going to be this constant sort of thing between getting the vial or saving Pacha.
Well, yeah, because Yzma can't get it open. And then when she tries to get it open, as a result, she falls off the building. And yeah, you're right. It's a real the Last Crusade moment. Do you pick the cup or do you grab it onto Indy's hand?
So that's when Pacha's like, Indiana. Indiana. And that's what gets Cusco's like. We find out Cusco's first name
is Indiana Cusco.
in the Temple of Cusco. In the Temple of McMuffin.
It's lines like this that make me already start to pre-edit the podcast in my head.
It's like, I'm going to make a cut there, and McMuffin.
Oh dear. So Cusco decides he's finally had some character growth, and he decides to say Pacha instead and lets the vial fall off the edge of the monument. But luckily, both the vial and Yzma are okay, because there's a giant trampoline down the bottom.
The fact that the guy's bringing in this massive truck full of trampolines.
Good. But again, it's taking the piss out of those plot conveniences that we
why
talk
is there a
about
trampoline?
All the time on the pod. For the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline. You know, pal, you could have told me that before I set it up. Even their voices, it's like the New Yorker guy. It's the New Yorker trampoline delivery man.
I'm Mr. Delivery Man. Well, I got a job to do here. I'm in the middle of Mesopotamian Empire, and I got to deliver a trampoline. Red trampoline, got him. Blue trampoline, green trampoline for your mother.
Say hi to your mother for me. I forgot that Mark Wahlberg plays the trampoline delivery man.
I'm meant to say he plays the trampoline, so he makes that sound when Yzma hits the trampoline.
Say hi to your mother for me.
Hi to your mother for me.
Can you tell we're tired?
That's a good tangent. That's a good tangent.
It's a tangent.
But Yzma goes flying back up. So does the vial.
The sound she makes as she's falling too is so good.
What is it?
Jesus. That's pretty accurate. But yeah, she comes back up, lands safe and sound. But speaking of plot conveniences, old Crump just pops out of the trapdoor, smashes her against the wall.
What are the odds that trapdoor leading me out here?
They continue to poke fun and holes in the convenience of this last little bit. I mean, most of the movie, but particularly this last bit. But importantly, the vial ends up back with Cusco and...
Not before they get to relive their little wall climbing moment.
Oh yes, they got to do the wall climb because the vial's on like a Rube Goldberg machine trying to make their way down to them.
It's good design. And so they get it, he drinks it, and he's human again.
Cuts back to being in the palace and everything's all okay and...
Apologizes to the old man.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not the first time someone's thrown me out of a window. It certainly won't be the last. And then he's like, whoa, all right, tiger. Like gets into like a little fist fight.
This old bloke's real weird. I love the way that he kind of resolves things with Pacha as not like, hey...
You mean the way he patches things up?
He patches things up, yes. Yeah. Nice callback. When he patches things up, the fact that he's still not like able to fully be like, hey, I'm doing this for you or anything like that. I really appreciate you saving me and all this kind of thing. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I've just sort of made another decision.
Oh yeah, I made a different decision because the mountain your house was on was shit. I picked a different mountain.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good.
But we do get a nice little pool party scene at the end.
They're both on going down the slides.
Patch's wife's made him a little poncho with a llama on it. It's a very good, fun ending.
Which originally wasn't going to be the ending.
Oh, how was it going to end?
Apparently they were still going to build the pool and stuff.
And just
undo all of the character development.
That's amazing. And Pacha was just going to be...
I don't know about the Pacha side of things, but
oh my God.
That's what originally sort of what they looked at doing. Hey, I've been on this massive journey as a character and as a human.
I haven't learnt anything though.
Credits.
But no, then we get that fun scene right before the credits where Kronk is now the scout leader, teaching the kids and cat version of Yzma how to talk squirrel.
So good.
Squeak squeakin', squeak squeakin'. Did you steal my acorn?
And then we get the nice Sting song. Or was it My Furry Friend or whatever it is? I don't know. It's not a musical. There's not much music. But yeah, that's the Emperor's New Groove.
Sure is.
How groovy was it?
Very groovy. As I told you, it's now made my top 25.
Had it been long since you last watched it?
No, it's never too long between drinks with this one.
Yeah.
I once watched this film 4 times in one weekend.
Oh, wow.
Group of friends had hired a house, and it's whenever we couldn't think of what we wanted to watch, it would be Emperor's New Groove, and
cool.
It's just a fun one to have on in the background. It's so good. Every line I find hilarious.
Yep.
As I said, I really like the cast. Patrick Warburton's incredible. Got that big Warps energy.
He does.
It's why another one of my favorite animated films, Hoodwinked, because Patrick Warburton is just great as the big bad wolf. Have you seen Hoodwinked?
No, I know the premise of the film and stuff. I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, it's like a Red Riding Hood noir. It's very, very good. Yeah, again, David Spade is just killing it. Eartha Kitt is killing it. I'm a big fan of David Spade stand-up. Some of it probably doesn't age all that well, but...
That's stand-up comedy in general, though, so...
Yeah, he's just really expressive with his voice, and there's something about his tone of voice that is infectious and comedic in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Just all around, I love it. But how'd you feel revisiting it?
This is maybe the 3rd or 4th time I've seen it.
Okay, cool.
Definitely the first time in a while that I'd sort of gone through the whole film, because there's definitely parts of the film that I really remember quite distinctly, but I remember really enjoying this film when it came out. That was prime time for me watching animated movies as a kid. I would have been probably maybe 6 or 7, I think, when this came out, and I saw it in the cinemas. I think I might have even gone to see it at the drive-in down in the Mornington Peninsula. So
Nice.
Got some really good memories seeing this film. And yeah, a prime example of watching a movie aimed at kids and watching it as an adult and picking up so much more than 6-year-old me would have done. And I think I always really enjoy that part of watching, any animated films, but I think particularly something I always associate with Disney. Really enjoyed having a group with Kuzco, and this was a good pick.
100%. So big thank you to Ignatius for suggesting this one. As soon as it was picked as a potential, I was it's going to get a play. I don't know when, but it's going to get a play because it's a good one. So thank you to Ignatius, and also another thanks to Evie, Amaya, and Lily for their intro for today. Cool, let's jump into weekly watches.
Let's do it.
Weekly watches. Weekly watches. I love you.
How many weekly watches have you got, mate?
I got 4.
Nice. I got 6, but some of them I will speed through. Okay. So I'm going to do 1 and 2 simultaneously. We've got She's the Man and The Parent Trap. Both have pretty similar kind of vibes. A long week last week, and Mads and I were just looking for a nice easy watch. And so we did a couple of these back to back. Maddie also did Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Which is getting a sequel now.
Well, I think that's why, because I was watching some clips behind the scenes, interviews and stuff with the two of them. And then Maddie said, yeah, I want to watch Freaky Friday. And now we've gone down this rabbit hole of all of those teen comedy kind of movies or Disney kind of movies growing up. I had a ball revisiting The Parent Trap. I love watching Lindsay Lohan try and do a British accent. It's very funny.
It's pretty good.
It's really, really good. And also, it's pretty good effects in that film, duplicating her, and it's a fairly convincing kind of thing. When I was a kid, I genuinely thought she was a twin.
Same.
Yeah, it's very, very well done, but also, I love the rest of the cast as well.
Dean Quaid.
Yeah, love a bit of Dennis Quaid, the butler, the maid, and the fact that they get together. It's just a whole lot of fun.
It's a really good time, that film.
But yeah, She's the Man, incredible. I just loved Amanda Bynes in a bunch of different things. I just watched episodes of The Amanda Show on Nickelodeon. I didn't have Nickelodeon, but if I was on holiday and we had Nickelodeon, you better believe I was staying up till whatever time the Amanda Show was on.
Big Fat Liar.
Oh, Big Fat Liar.
With Frankie Muniz.
Frankie Muniz.
We should do that for Film Club.
We should do that.
That'd be a wild one.
5 favourite actors who burnt out.
Paul Giamatti's going okay?
Yeah. It's more the child actors. But Channing Tatum, a young Channing Tatum, just very quotable. It's another one where as it's going through, I'm like, I say that all the time.
I'm here for you, bro. Got a lifetime of knowledge.
For anyone who doesn't know what She's the Man is, it's a retelling of the Shakespearean play, The Twelfth Night, where she goes to college as her brother instead. It's all so that she can play soccer. So she wants to prove that she can, hence why she goes to the other school as her brother, so that she can join the team and then beat their team. But when she goes, she initially doesn't make it onto the team. And then she needs to get Channing Tatum to teach her how to be better to be on the team. So that does kind of undercut the message a little.
But not too much.
No, it's fine. It's still a good time.
It's still a very, very good time.
So yeah, they're my first two. I don't really have to delve into them because they've been around forever and they're just a good fun watch. Check them out. I think they're both on Disney+.
Nice. The first one I'll talk about, I watched Love Lies Bleeding. Directed by Rose Glass, stars Kristen Stewart and Katie M. O'Brien. Both of those two in the leads are superb in this film.
Oh, they're incredible.
I love Ed Harris and Dave Franco's little sort of roles as well. I think they're really good in supporting parts.
I don't even remember how much Dave Franco does. It can't be much.
Not be much before he,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some very good practical effects stuff.
Spoilies.
It's been out on streaming for a while. It's just an interesting sort of concept for a film, I guess. It is a bit like sort of neo-noir. A lot of the visual style of the film I really enjoy. Stewart and Emma O'Brien basically end up falling in love, and it's kind of about their relationship, and then sort of when someone does something bad, trying to clean up things after that, I guess.
Yeah, but it takes a real turn in the third act.
Yeah.
Pretty bizarre.
It did lose me a little bit in the last lap of the film, I guess. It's not in the effects that look bad or anything like that. It just really took me out of what felt like up until that point a reasonably grounded film.
It feels like a real acid trip at the end.
Yeah, so that part of it was like, but up until then I'd had a really good time with this movie. So I still really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a good watch.
Yeah, nice. I'll go 2024 one too then. I'll do the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yes.
New Guy Ritchie film, finally hit streaming services.
I remember it came out and we were like, when's this coming to cinemas? And it was like, it's not.
It's not, yeah. Yeah, it just kind of dissolved into nothingness. Went and watched that on the weekend and really enjoyed it. I would say, as someone who has gone back and gone through the catalogue of Guy Ritchie films recently, it's not amongst my favourites, but it was still a good time. And
sort of middle of the road a little bit?
Yeah. The action sequences I found really, really engrossing, like done in a fun way. But by far, my favourite part of the film is just Henry Cavill's facial expressions.
Okay.
So the film starts and they're stopped on a boat by German soldiers and they're putting on Swedish accents, and then at one point they even start imitating the Germans, talking in camp voices as well. They're doing the sassy German.
I was going to say, they've been watching.
It's a return of the sassy German.
They're back.
They're making the really whimsical face and talking and laughing, and I was just bursting out laughing looking at Henry Cavill's face. I'll see if I can find just the face that he makes in that moment and just. Again, audio podcast, but periodically I just put this image up there because it's so, so funny.
You're in trouble now! You've been a naughty boy! I'll give you 100 francs to shoot him! Don't shoot me!
The faces he's making and the joy that you can see, because obviously they're killing a bunch of people in this movie, but they're Nazis, so he's allowed they're Nazis, so he's allowed to have a good time doing it, and he definitely does. You can see the joy on his face.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good for Henry.
Yeah, so that's Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Okay. This is one I watched at home, and it's Dressed to Kill. So I'm still on my, what did you call it? The De Palma-rama-thon?
Palma-rama.
So this is another Brian De Palma film. I didn't quite enjoy this as much as Blowout. Blowout I really, really loved.
Oh, me neither. But it's still really good.
It's still fun. Nancy Allen's really good in it. Michael Caine is in it.
Michael Caine.
Ben Mendelsohn. What are you doing here? I can't not talk about that podcast.
Callback Central.
It is. It's really been callback central. Population us today. This film is like a good time just because it's pretty simple plot. It does catch you out of nowhere, but like someone essentially gets killed in an elevator. No idea where the film was going for the start of it because you're getting basically like a really dissatisfied wife who's not getting the physical love and attention she'd like and then goes to seek it elsewhere, and then she's on the way out, she just gets killed in an elevator. It's kind of wild. And then basically the murder has a witness, and then the murderer is trying to kill that witness. And yeah, I really like all like sort of interplay. I think like Nancy Allen's character, the way that she works with the lady who's killed her son is really good. I think Michael Caine's really good as like the psychologist, and then obviously there's a bit of a twist at the end that maybe catches you by surprise, or maybe you can see it coming.
Well, I think it's a familiar twist. Like it's existed in other films, but I think this one in particular did a good job of subverting my expectations for it. So it's definitely something that before the reveal I went, oh, it's going to be this. But I actually went back and forth between saying it's going to be this. Oh, maybe it isn't going to be that now. Oh, no, it is. So it's not like it comes out of nowhere and you're like, whoa, what a shock.
But it
makes you question whether that is going to happen or not. And I found that enjoyable.
Definitely. I think it's that's definitely a strength of the film. You know, as much as maybe I don't quite enjoy the narrative as much as I enjoyed Blowout, it's still like a really nice looking film. Like I'm really starting to look forward to watching Brian De Palma films and how they look. Still feels like very voyeuristic, very much got like a lot of Hitchcock sort of vibes in this film. Not as superb as Blowout, still had a good time watching it.
Nice. Next on my list, and this is my only bad one, A Sacrifice. So one I was really looking forward to.
We talked about the trailer.
You and I were both looking forward to it. Eric Bana film, Sadie Sink is in it as well. I adore both of them. I'd obviously been watching The Dry and then The Dry 2, The Wet with Eric Bana. I love Sadie Sink in Stranger Things and was really, really looking forward to this. It looked like it was going to be this suspenseful thriller, and I just did not enjoy it at all. I didn't find it thrilling. I thought the characters didn't really act the way anyone would rationally, and because of the elements of occult in it, you don't necessarily expect them to act rationally once they're seduced by the cult and lured into it. Like, that's the whole danger of a cult. Like, you look at it from an outsider's perspective and you go, who would ever do that? But the reality is it happens. But I don't feel like this film portrays it in a convincing way.
Right, okay.
And so, people just kind of submit to it really easily when you're like, there's clearly something really sinister going on here. So I don't think it was very thrilling, and I wasn't super happy with the resolution to the film either. So bit of a bummer. And I had been forewarned, the reviews weren't doing so great for it either.
It was directed by Ridley Scott's daughter, and really doesn't have like a big sort of filmography. So in terms of direction, and I think it had been a while. I remember when we were talking about this movie when the trailer came out, it had been a while between drinks basically since her last film. So I was just like, I'd be interested to sort of see them, like, you know. And I don't think her previous film was super duper well received. So I was like,
at least she's consistent.
Damn. More like Jordan Knott, am I right?
Oh, Jordan's her first name?
Yep.
I guess because we hadn't established that. I missed it.
Anyway, it's MIFF season. It's a time I always look forward to try to see a few movies, and I got a couple done over the weekend. And
Nice.
I'll start with the older film, Lake Mungo. And it's a 2008 horror film. It's just got a 4K restoration that they had. I went and saw this at the Forum in the little upstairs cinema room. Have you been in cinema room?
I haven't, no.
Did find out that my mum saw E.T. there when it came out, so that was pretty cool. So I didn't know much about this movie outside of the fact it was presented in like a faux doco or a mockumentary style. And it was a horror movie. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's see sort of where things go.
It's very Blair Witch.
Very much so. So I guess the premise of the film is a family's out on the lake and the daughter drowns, basically. Then afterwards, mysterious things continue to happen. They're not sure what sort of happened in the lead up to her death. Spooky things start to happen in photos and videos. It's brilliant. Again, I'm not like a super well versed on every single Australian horror film that's come out, but this certainly stands out as one of the best I've seen. I think it's just a really, really terrific film. And I think the main reason for that and what this film gets praised for the most is how immersive this film is for like a mockumentary. Mockumentary sounds almost like you're immediately looking at something comedic. That's why I almost rather call it like a faux doco or like a fake documentary.
I think that's a common misconception, though. You can have dramatic mockumentary.
True. This film is just so incredibly immersive, and a lot of that's got to do with the entire cast basically putting in like rock star performances that are amazing. There's like some really creepy scenes where it's not anything like in terms of imagery or anything like that, but it's just because how devastating like vocal delivery can be like during an interview or something like that.
Right.
There's some supernatural elements to it, what you think is a supernatural element, but it never feels like it's like overly fantastical. This could happen. This could be believable. It was really fantastic. And then we also got a Q&A with two of the stars of the film. So it was really good to hear about the movie from their perspective and the whole lead up to stuff. I had a really fantastic time, and you know, for those who are into their horror movies, I couldn't recommend this highly enough.
Nice. Next for me, A Quiet Place Day 1. So I was a bit disappointed. It certainly wasn't a bad film, but I'm a big fan of the first two films in this series.
Same,
and I didn't think that the prequel lived up to it. The big problem for me was it lacked a lot of the suspense from the previous two entries. Even in my Letterboxd review, I praised the performances. It's very hard to be engaging in a film that doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue.
Yep.
But it just doesn't feel as action-packed. It's tonally very different to the other two. I missed the family dynamic. It's not to say that I wanted those characters specifically. They just set up a really creative balance between them, with the son's health problems, with the daughter's, the fact that she has like a hearing aid and she's deaf. Those things set up conflicts in the film that meant they had to do certain things.
And it's not as present.
It's not really in this. I even said it never feels like it would be challenging to get away from the monsters in this film. Just be more careful where you walk so you're not knocking things over, and tell Joseph Quinn to stop crying. And
that's all he does.
They're the only sounds you get. People who accidentally bump into things, and Joseph Quinn is crying almost the entire film.
Sad boy.
He's a sad boy.
Or crying with happiness after finding out he was going to get cast in a Marvel movie. Who knows?
Maybe that was it. Please, we just want one take without you crying.
I'm going to be Johnny Storm.
Maybe it's because I've seen two now, and a third one I was a bit over the concept, but it just didn't feel like any of the action set pieces were ever on the same level as the previous one. And it still was written by John Krasinski, but he didn't direct this one. So
Gotcha.
I think that may have played a role in it as well.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Well, a couple of ones we're both looking forward to on your list, and just haven't quite stuck the landing.
Oh, much better than A Sacrifice, though.
It sounds like
So
it.
good, not great.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one for me. It's the best movie I've seen this year.
Woo!
It is a MIF release. It is a new film as well, and it is called Memoir of a Snail. And this is a Adam Elliott film, so another claymation from probably one of the best exponents of this style. It's just so brilliant. So basically, the premise of the film: Sarah Snook plays the main character, Grace, and she's basically narrating her life from an early goings up until where the film ends. It's hard to sort of talk about the film without sort of going into too much detail, but basically it's about a relationship with her twin brother and their upbringing. It's really cool to see like a claymation like Brunswick Street and Collingwood and Fitzroy and stuff like that, which is great.
That would be cool, yeah.
But yeah, it's about basically their lives and how sort of things change. A lot of different themes about grief and holding on to things and moving forward. It's just so good. Like the claymation looks brilliant. Some of the different things he does, you know, like characters crying or like a fire and stuff. It's just like, wow, how do you do that with clay? It's crazy. I probably haven't watched the movie like this in a while that just makes me go on such a roller coaster of emotions. It's genuinely quite hilarious at times in like a very sort of adult way. It's heartwarming. It really like throws you around, and no shame in saying I was like proper bawling. Like I haven't cried like this at a film actually in a really long time. I was
Wow.
Like, But then you've got Jackie Weaver, who steals the show, one of the best characters in the film. Eric Banner's in it. Cody Smith-McPhee voices Grace's brother. Magda Sabansky, Nick Cave in a little bit of a guest role as well.
Yeah, right.
I went and saw it at the Pivotonian in Geelong, and just everyone was really moved. I can't wait for this to get a wider release and for more people to go see it.
Nice. This is my best film of the week, Train to Busan.
Nice, yeah, cool.
So, you seen this one?
Not all of it. I don't know why I got halfway through and I just picked up something else. I don't know what happened. But
I don't know how you got halfway through and didn't finish it off because, by about halfway through, you're locked in.
It's pretty wild.
It's a thrilling ride. So, zombie film, I'm obviously doing a zombie unit with my year 11s at the moment. I showed some clips from this, but like you, I'd never seen the full thing. And I watched the clip with them in class and went, why haven't I watched all of this? This is incredible. I went and watched it. It was on ClickView. I adored it. It was really good. It's nice to see a zombie film set in a different location to what you traditionally expect.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole film, or 90% of the film, takes place in the train yard or on the train, it feels very different to a lot of other films. That presents its own set of challenges as well. And also they establish different sort of zombie rules to what has previously been established in film. Sometimes zombies are attracted to smell, sometimes it's like the look. If you can like pretend to be the zombie, then you get away with it.
Yep.
This one is very much based on vision, and so they highlight how when they're shrouded in darkness, the zombies don't really attack them. So even in one sequence in the film, they're behind a glass door and the zombies are like running at them and they just cover the glass door with newspapers and all of a sudden the zombies calm down. That presents some really cool narrative possibilities in the film as well. And yeah, I just really liked it. The characters were all really, really good. Yeah, it kind of got me geared up to go and check out some other like foreign films in the genre.
I was going to say, you can check out the other films in the franchise.
As in sequels to...
Yeah, I think there's a sequel and a prequel, I think. So, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Wonder how you could have a prequel to a zombie film. Pre-zombies, boring.
Yeah, I think that's the situation. They're not called like a second Train to Busan or anything like that, but...
Train to Busan.
Too Fast, Too Furious. The one's called Peninsula, so it doesn't have the same characters, but it's like in the same sphere, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, inevitably in a zombie film you're going to have death, so it is tricky to transfer too many characters from one film to the next.
This is true.
But yeah, it was really good. Highly recommend you going and checking out the rest of it.
I shall. I absolutely will.
Alrighty.
Shall we count down our 5 favourites?
Let's do it.
We got 5 favorites. Above all else. We got 5 favorites that we think are top shelf.
So because we looked at the Emperor's New Groove this week, we are going to be breaking down our 5 favourite animal shapeshifters. So we were pretty loose on this one. It was basically any movie, TV show, book, video game, whatever it might be, where somebody turns into an animal at some stage. So it could be some sort of a werewolf transformation, whatever it might be. As always, I should establish, because we talked about the Emperor's New Groove, I will not be including that on my list, but Cusco would absolutely be in my 5 favorites had we not done that.
That's fair.
I tried to mix it up a bit. I got a couple of films, a couple of TV shows, and I got one video game as well.
Cool.
Do you want to kick things off?
Sure, I will. My first one, I was actually tossing up between a couple of different characters.
Go with your first one, because mine's the other one.
Okay, good. And that's a very common place to find transforming humans to animals and animals back to humans is in the Harry Potter universe. I thought I'd talk about literally the first cinematic inclusion of one of the animagus, and that is Professor McGonagall.
That was bloody brilliant.
Yeah. It's so good. I remember being really enthralled by seeing her transform the first time when she's going down Privet Drive in Philosopher's Stone, and the fact when she does it again when they're late for class.
Perhaps it would be more useful if I were to transfigure Mr. Potter and yourself into a pocket watch. That way one of you might be on time.
Minerva McGonagall's the best. I think like she's one of the strongest characters in the Harry Potter ethos and the universe and everything. Played by an old Dame Maggie Smith, who's just brilliant in the role. She's the best. She's like the stern teacher who really cares.
Nice. I've got one from the same franchise. It's funny that you were tossing up between these two because I was literally doing the same. I love Maggie Smith. But but I ended up going with Gary Oldman's Sirius Black.
Nice.
Maybe swayed by the fact that I had a Harry Potter party recently and went as Sirius Black.
Oh, nice one.
We were talking costumes recently for this pod too, because originally we were going to do this as a video pod.
Insert that picture.
Because I've got a Cusco outfit from when I hosted a Disney-themed karaoke here at school. Here's my Sirius Black versus my Cusco. Put them side by side. You can tell me which one you think looks better.
Who wins?
Yeah, Fashion Week. What should I go as?
Which one do you think?
Sirius Black.
Okay.
Miss Lowe did a tremendous job putting together. She sewed the Emperor's New Groove one.
What a boss. Shout out to Miss Lowe.
Then I'm wearing paper earrings. I don't have the wig. Really, it's all wrong.
Comment in the chat if you want to see any of these looks come back at Eddie's stage.
I certainly don't. But yeah, the reason I like Sirius Black as the transformation of his character is because he's been a dog for so long and he kind of carries over some of those attributes.
Yeah.
And I also really like that when he's first introduced, he's like erratic and he's like mean. And then immediately afterwards in the next scene, he's like, Harry, I love you, and do you want to come live with me? And I'm a really nice man. And it's
okay.
It's clearly they've just made him like that because at that point we still think he's a bad guy. And then as soon as he's a good guy and they've established that, then they completely change how he plays the role.
Yeah.
And it's not super subtle, but I think he gets away with it because he was a dog for a long time and he was pretty frustrated, and I get it. When he gets a moment to breathe, he's like, all right, take a chill pill.
For a while.
Take a chill pill, adopt a kid, you know.
Put your head in a fireplace. Just do the whole lot.
That's it.
Sirius Black's maybe my favourite character from Harry Potter. So,
there you go.
It's certainly up there. So
who's next?
Welcome Jeff Goldblum to the podcast because there he is.
Well, Jeff, come on in, take a seat.
It's Professor Brundle, Dr. Brundle. I think it's Professor from
Brundlefly.
It's Brundlefly. It's David Cronenberg's The Fly, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think I can guess why. Practical effects up the wazoo.
I don't mind a practical. I think I've talked about that at the podcast.
Maybe once or twice.
I won't talk about it again for my other couple mentions, but that's fine. I love this transformation, and it's such a fantastic movie. Jeff Goldblum plays this character so well. The transformation and is becoming more insectoid with his behavior. I think as much as it's really creepy at the end when he becomes full fly, I think it's actually creepier when he's still very much in his kind of human form, and then the spitting on stuff and decomposing it to eat and everything. It's this is disgusting. Understandable, it's from the king of body horror, but I remember watching this film, I think probably in my either late teens or early 20s, and I just couldn't take my eyes off the whole film. I just thought it was a really good movie. And this character transformation that Brundle sort of goes through, psychologically, but then also obviously physically, practical effects are just elite. Brundlefly, number 2 on my 5 favourites.
Next up for me, Scott Howard, Michael J. Fox's character from Teen Wolf.
Nice.
So the reason I really like Teen Wolf, besides the fact that as a kid I was obsessed with Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's a very different iteration of a werewolf. For the most part, when he is the wolf, he still has full control over his actions. He doesn't become a monster. When he gets really angry as a result of that, he can lash out. But he's still just a kid who now is good at basketball. And I really like this idea of playing it as this quirky kind of teen drama comedy. And in the makeup, out of the makeup, throughout this film, Michael J. Fox is excellent. And it's so funny because it's, again, all done practically. So he's got these fangs in his mouth. And the way that he talks as the Teen Wolf, so good. The first time he sees himself in the mirror as the Teen Wolf, he goes, "Jeez Louise." And you can just tell it's man, it's really hard to talk in those fangs, isn't it, Michael J. Fox?
He's pushing through it.
Yeah.
He's going through it.
I loved this because it would have been one of my first exposures to a transformation scene. And obviously it's not nearly as technical as some other werewolf transformation scenes, which may come up later in your list. Yeah, it was just a really cool thing to see. It was this and the Thriller music video turning into a werewolf. These were my first exposures to transformations, and it was a very cool thing to see. I've done practical werewolf effects in movies. I have based them on different things that I've seen in these. I think I even mentioned it when you spoke about American Werewolf in London previously, how I use that as a huge inspiration for a werewolf transformation scene that I've done.
Very cool.
yeah, it all stems back to Mikey J from this one.
As it always does.
As it always does.
It's got to come from somewhere. It might as well be Mikey J.
Mikey J.
My next one, I mean, we're getting into werewolf territory. And this is, I was like, there's going to be a werewolf on the list. But it's like, well, which one do I pick? And that's the one you just mentioned. That's Dave Kessler, An American Werewolf in London. So,
of course you would. You loved it.
I did. I really enjoyed watching this film. I had a great time with it because it was a film that I wasn't expecting like how funny it was going to be just the whole way through. And I think that the way they build up to the transformation is superb. And obviously the transformation scene is like one of the most iconic scenes in cinema, particularly for horror. Even though I don't maybe like how abruptly this film finishes after Dave does become a werewolf. But I think while he is the werewolf, I think it's a really good time. And I also, in terms of characters who transform into animals and come back, he's quite interesting in that way. So battling with the fact that they are a werewolf. Another one that I could have picked could have been Hugh Jackman from Van Helsing.
Why did the designers on Van Helsing get your hat size so wrong?
And also really stiff to miss out was Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Woo!
But they didn't make the cut.
Sexiest man alive.
Particularly as the old man. That's some white skin.
Yuck.
Anyway, so that's my number 3.
Nice. In my number 3, I've got Jake from Animorphs.
Nice.
So old Sean Ashmore.
Shawnee.
I returned to Animorphs. It was one of those things that I watched it on TV and it was like, we have to be home for Animorphs. And I don't know if you ever get these memories of shows you watched as a kid where there must be like 8 seasons of this, must be 22 episodes.
3?
I think it's only like 2.
Damn.
And then it got cancelled right on a cliffhanger where it's like his brother had one of those earworm thingies in it. Anyway.
I remember the earworms,
It's like 2 seasons and they have not many episodes in each season.
Damn.
And yeah, it just got cancelled.
A lot of books though.
Yeah, a lot of books, but I didn't really read the books. I like the covers where they just transform.
Yeah, they were cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I just remembered this being one of those shows where I loved it as a kid. Even when I returned to it, I was like, I am way too old to still be appreciating this show as much as I am.
Last week?
Yeah. I remember being devastated to find out that it just ends. I was like, what happened?
That's brutal.
What happened to Jake? Jake could turn into a bunch of different things. At one time, he even turned into one of those earworm things.
Ugh.
But his go-to was a golden retriever, and you gotta love that.
If that's your spirit animal, it's who you're morphing into, you're all right with me.
That's number 3.
Next up for me is an anime character.
Ooh.
And it's Goku, because he turns into a great ape as part of his Saiyan transformations. And it was mainly just an excuse to talk about how much I love Dragon Ball Z. So
go for it, mate.
There's not much more outside of that.
I love it. The end.
But no, I mean, this is my favorite anime show as a kid, and it's still the one that I probably have kept up with as well. Watched a lot of the recent movies and everything like that. And I always thought it was really cool when Kid Goku transforms into a massive ape. I always enjoyed playing as the big ape on like the Dragon Ball Z video games. Shout out to Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Yeah.
What a mouthful.
It is. That's the main reason I put it in there, see if I can still do it.
Yeah, you did it. You pulled it off. He's done it.
He has. A show that was very big on transformations between all sort of characters. I love me some DBZ, or DBZ, depending on where you're from. Shout out to Goku. He's the man.
Nice. Next for me is Viego from What We Do in the Shadows. So
good call.
Slipped it through on a technicality because they do transform into bats in the film.
Bats are animals.
Yeah, I know. But I like him in human form. I don't like him as Bat Viego. But he's so good. Again, like with the Teen Wolf, it's a very different version of vampires in general. You expect them to be very threatening or like seductive or like really cool. And he's like dorky and awkward, and it's fantastic.
Which one is Viego again?
So it's Taika Waititi.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But just I always quote the opening scene where he comes to like gather everyone up for the meeting, and he comes down to Peter, and he's like, maybe I'll bring your broom down here. So, oh, what's that on the ground? It's a spinal column. Yuck. He's trying to have these normal conversations, and most of the time, even though the things that they're discussing are really far-fetched, he does have that awkward, regular human reaction that you would have to it.
Yep.
At one point, he tries to bite someone and the blood is like splurting everywhere and he's like trying to get it in his mouth. It's so good.
I love that film.
Yeah, Very, very good film, and he's my favorite character in it by far.
Same, pretty damn good. My last one is like a really random one that I'm slotting in there.
All right.
It's just based around one scene and an excuse to talk about some good practical effects. And it's Debbie Stevens from Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Of course, Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Dream Master.
The best one.
Definitely not. It comes off the back of the best one.
You think 3's better than 1?
Yep.
I think 3's the second best, but nothing tops 1.
Okay.
Anyway, keep going.
Anyway.
You just like that part where she gets pulled into the TV in 3. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a good time. That is a really good time. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, you know, all these really cool characters that we had in the third one, you're dead. Bang, you're dead. That's what Freddy does.
Yeah.
He turns into Jonah Hill from This Is the End. Bang, you're dead. But Debbie Stevens is like part of like the new group essentially. She's a big gym fan, likes working out, and she hates bugs. They're basically the two defining characteristics
She
of
hates
her.
who? Oh, bugs.
She hates bugs.
Right.
But she loves working out.
What does she turn into?
Which turns into like a cockroach or like a beetle in a situation. But basically what happens is she falls asleep while she's at the gym on a bench about to do bench press. And then so Freddy's like spotting for her in the dream, but then pushes back down and breaks her arms at the elbows. It looks gnarly.
Oh.
But then of the
Bug
gap in her arms,
come out.
and then
Right,
she turns
I
into a
remember
bug,
it now.
and she like rips off her face, and it's like a bug face, and then Freddy like sort of eventually just like sort of squashes her and stuff.
Practical effects?
Yeah, and I was like,
Wicked.
That's pretty gnarly. Literally, when I was like looking up, movies where like people turn into animals, and this came up in the discussion, and I went back and watched part of it, and I was like, yeah, that looked pretty sick. I'm going to talk about Nightmare
worth a
4.
mention. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to watch the clip as soon as we're done here. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to cap things off with Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie.
Great shout.
I would say Banjo probably more than anyone else deserves a mention on this list because he transforms into so many, both animals and inanimate objects. Yeah. He's a washing machine at one point, but I love the Banjo-Kazooie games. It was tough to pick between Kazooie or Banjo for this. Kazooie's got that, but Banjo is a I have played these games through from start to finish multiple times. I adore them. They're the kind of games where if I go back every now and then and play them, I have to get every single music note, every single puzzle piece before I will let myself move on.
Yep.
But by talking about Banjo, I get to talk about Mumbo, who turns him into all of these things, or at least in the first one. I think in the second one, Wigwam or someone turns in.
I didn't play the second one, so.
Not as good as Mumbo, but he literally goes, Boogada! And then they turn into it. It's amazing.
Iconic. No, I didn't have an Nintendo 64 when I was a kid, but I had one of my best friends at the time he was an N64 person. I was the PlayStation person, so.
I was the N64 kid.
But
we didn't really associate with your kind.
Oh, well, that's fine. You missed out on Crash Bandicoot. That's fine. But I had a good time playing Banjo-Kazooie. I really like games like this, and yeah, that's a very, very good shout for you, Mr. Brown. Nice one. Nice way to finish off your list and this segment and the pod.
The pod, yeah. Again, just a reminder to share the pod around to friends and comment if you've got any ideas for stuff you'd like us to do in future. As I said, it is a busy kind of time, so it spurs us on in these trying times when we see that there's a lot of love for the pod.
We need a bit of fire. Putting up bellies.
Exactly. So make sure you're vocal about that and introducing others to it as well. But in the meantime, Mr. Boylan and I have been turned into a cow, so can we go home?
I guess so.
Let's not wait till the next family reunion. Thanks, everyone, and catch you at the next film club.